Whether you loved him or hated him, you knew who he was, and that is a sign of a really good entertainer. Menacing, intimidating, and totally hypnotic in the ring, this describes perfectly Jake the Snake Roberts. He was a superstar capable of taking you down physically as well as psychologically. Slithering to the ring with a monstrous python concealed in a sack, Jake used fear as a weapon as much as he used pain. His DDT finishing move is still one of the most brutal finishes ever unleashed on an opponent.
I make my own rules. Because if you're thinking about the snake, then you're not thinking about me.
What up, you guys? It is the influential Skylar Cruz, and you are listening to AJWF's YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share all the love. Love ya.
Jake Roberts was the son of the noted wrestler Grizzly Smith, so he was born into a sports entertainment family. Obviously eager to follow in his father's footsteps, Roberts began competing in the ring in the 70s, making a name for himself in promotions throughout the South of America. Roberts then took his talents and his amazing DDT finisher to the top of wrestling world. This was the WWE, at that time WWF, and he arrived in the promotion in 1986. Roberts debuted in the World Wrestling Federation, WWF, on March the 8th, 1986, at the Boston Garden no less, defeating Jose Luis Rivera. Only a month later, he made his pay-per-view debut at Wrestlemania 2, defeating George Wells. During the match, Roberts made Wells foam from the mouth when he wrapped his accompanying snake, Damien, around Wells' head. What a start to a WWF career. It was later in 1986 that Roberts began to enjoy an upsurge in fan popularity, despite the WWF's attempts to cast him as an unpopular villain. In fact, in November that year, Roberts challenged Randy Savage for the Intercontinental Championship. Before the match, announcer Vince McMahon said the fans would probably support Savage against the disliked Roberts. However, to the surprise of McMahon and his fellow broadcaster Jesse the Body Ventura, the fans cheered loudly for Roberts throughout the bout. Around the same time, the WWF had also tried to set Roberts up as a nemesis to the then fan favourite WWF World Heavyweight Champion, the immortal Hulk Hogan, even wanting him to challenge for the title. However, after Roberts hit Hogan with a DDT during an episode of the Snake Pit, fans responded positively to the attack by chanting DDT rather than for Hogan. Now this is something that Vince could not allow, so the angle was scrapped.
And for the simple fact that he was going to mess up their marketing, because when I went out and DDT'd his ass, people started chanting DDT, DDT instead of Hulk, 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 and it really screwed things up for me. As Vince put it, I had the worst luck of all.
Talking of the Snake Pit, this is something Jake Roberts had on the spot on TV every week, hosting it. It showed how much he was appreciated on the mic. It was a talk segment for him to rile both superstars and fans alike with his twisted point of view. Throughout his career, Roberts often considered one of professional wrestling's most iconic figures. He was known for his intense promos, dark charisma, extensive use of psychology in his matches, and the use of the DDT finishing move. He often brought his snakes into the ring, most famously a python. If we can fast forward in time, Roberts had a feud with the legendary Andre the Giant. Now Andre the Giant was apparently legit scared of snakes, so Roberts used his snake Damien to scare Andre into an eventual, shall we say, kayfabe heart attack. Although the subsequent feud on the house shows saw Andre the Giant victorious in most of the matches. Now that is what you'd call a high profile feud, Andre the Giant. But Roberts also had high profile feuds in the early years with the likes of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, and Rick the Model Martel. Talking Rick the Model Martel, this led to an unusual match which started after Martel blinded, so to speak, Roberts by spraying his cologne, Arrogance, into his eyes. Roberts even went so far as to wear white contact lenses to prove to the fans his blindness in the Wrestling Federation. After several months, it led to a match at WrestleMania 7. This match had both wrestlers blindfolded. The match ended after Roberts was able to locate Martel and deliver a DDT. Another memorable, strange kind of angle was in early to mid 1991, when Roberts engaged in a feud with Earthquake, who squashed Robert Snake Damien with a pair of Earthquake splashes during their match on WWF TV. Spoiler alert and funny fact, in reality, Robert's bag contained hamburger meat intended to look like a snake and a small mechanical device to depict movement. So, this feud was advanced then. Several weeks later, Earthquake appeared on WWF Primetime Wrestling and served Quake Burgers to co-host Lord Alfred Hayes and Vince McMahon, later claiming that the meat was ground from Damien's carcass. Roberts later introduced a new snake though, Damien's big brother, Lucifer. Guys, the high-profile feuds, they just kept coming. In the summer of 1991, there were a series of televised vignettes featuring the Ultimate Warrior turning to Roberts for help in his feud with The Undertaker. In the setups, Jake Roberts explained to the Warrior that after passing 3 tests, he would have the knowledge of the dark side to defeat The Undertaker. These segments included Warrior being locked inside a coffin, the Warrior being buried alive in dirt before being abandoned, and finally the Warrior walking through a room full of live snakes to reach a chest containing the answer. During this final test, the Roberts heel for the first time in a long time. Then guys, who remembers a certain SummerSlam where Roberts was placed in a feud with Randy Savage? During the post-SummerSlam wedding reception of Savage and Miss Elizabeth, Elizabeth opened a gift package containing a live cobra. Roberts and The Undertaker then attacked Savage until Sid Justice ran them off. Roberts immediately began berating Randy Savage in a series of promos that followed, and he was aware that Savage had lost a retirement match to the Ultimate Warrior at Wrestlemania 7, so he was unable to exact revenge. Then, on November the 23rd edition of the WWE TV, Roberts got Savage into the ring and brutally attacked him, eventually tying Savage into the ropes and got a King Cobra to bite his arm. He had trouble though getting the Cobra to release the bite. This segment went on longer than planned, and Savage's blood was clearly visible as it dripped from the puncture wounds. This is one of the more memorable moments, strangely, from wrestling history, due to the unplanned long bite. Savage did state in a shoot interview later that his arm swelled and he developed a high fever afterwards and had to be checked at a hospital. He also stated that the Cobra died a week after the angle, and he joked that the Cobra must have got the venom from him. The then WWF president Jack Tunney reinstated Savage as an active wrestler to get revenge for the attack. To explain the absence of the Cobra, Tunney banned Roberts from ever bringing a snake to the ring again. Savage and Roberts feuded for the next few months. This feud carried on and led to moments with both Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth. It also led to Roberts appearing on the funeral parlour to demand answers from The Undertaker about why he stopped him from attacking Miss Elizabeth during the Savage feud. When Roberts was dissatisfied with the answers, he hit Bearer with a DDT, and after jamming Undertaker's hand in a coffin, began hitting him with a steel chair. However, Undertaker got back up after each chair shot and eventually chased Roberts backstage, dragging the coffin behind him. At WrestleMania 8, the two met, and Roberts lost the match, becoming the second man to lose to The Undertaker in his WrestleMania streak. Roberts eventually left the WWF, but to work angles with the likes of The Undertaker, Macho Man, The Ultimate Warrior and Andre the Giant, it was, I hope you agree, quite the run. Roberts even went on to work for the World Championship Wrestling, WCW, the big rivals of the WWF, alongside his father, Grizzly Smith, where he aligned himself with the Barbarian and Cactus Jack to feud against Sting and Nikita Koloff. Strangely though, his only WCW pay-per-view match was against Sting at Halloween Havoc in 1992, and their match was determined via the spin the wheel, make the deal gimmick. I guess if you're having one pay-per-view match for a company, it may as well be against the WCW wrestling legend Sting. After leaving WCW, Roberts spent a couple of years wrestling around the world, but then he seemed to almost vanish. After spending over a year in hiatus, Roberts returned to the WWF at the Royal Rumble in 1996 as a Bible preacher. To go along with this new gimmick, he had a new albino python, which was named Revelations. His gimmick also mirrored his real life, as Roberts had recently become a born-again Christian and had been preaching around the country. Being a legendary figure in the WWF, Roberts was due to be pushed big time, and he went on to face Stone Cold Steve Austin in the final match of the 1996 King of the Ring tournament. But changes had to be made to the match's scripting, as Roberts had legitimately injured himself in a match with Vader, and this left Roberts unable to engage in the longer, more evenly matched bout originally intended between himself and Austin. To prevent Roberts from sustaining a further injury, he was quickly defeated by Austin. I think every wrestling fan kind of knows what happened after this match in a certain interview where Austin mocked the recital of the Bible passage, John 3:16. He said, "You sit there and you thump your Bible and you say your prayers and it didn't get you anywhere. Talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass." This catchphrase helped propel Austin to the top of the WWF and is one of the moments that is often cited as beginning of the Attitude Era. So, one of the biggest eras in wrestling history may have begun thanks to Jake the Snake Roberts, really, when you think about it. In early 1997, the WWF wanted Roberts to wind down his in-ring career and join the company's backstage crew. Since he still loved to wrestle, he did not make this transition well. This led to more problems with drugs and alcohol, and he led to leave the WWF. He did go on to appear for ECW after leaving the WWF, where he debuted during the summer of 1997. His introduction came towards the end of a match between Jerry the King Lawler and Tommy Dreamer, which was the main event of the show, and screamed, "Your God, he giveth, and he can taketh away. My God, he giveth, but he ain't got the balls to do nothing else." He promptly clotheslined Lawler, who fell onto Dreamer for the 2 count before exiting the ring. Towards the end of 1999, arguably, Jake Roberts had a downward spiral that started worse than ever, and at an indie show, Roberts was so intoxicated that during the course of the night, he slurred his way through a promo before the match and staggered to, from, and around the ring during his entrance. After doing things, well, let's just say he pretended his snake was a part of his body, and he stroked it like, well, as you can imagine. He then attempted to kiss the snake with his tongue. Years of substance abuse continued, but Roberts didn't give in the fight. Believe it or not, the WWE never gave up on Roberts. He even made a return on Raw in early 2005, where he confronted Randy Orton, who was preparing to challenge The Undertaker at Wrestlemania 21. Roberts warned Orton that facing The Undertaker, particularly at Wrestlemania, could be a soul-altering experience. He then fell victim to Orton's RKO, helping to fuel Orton's legend killer gimmick. This shows that WWE had faith in Roberts, but he didn't go much further on this occasion. He did, though, go on to make appearances at TNA Impact as well. He was a special guest referee in a Monsters Ball match. Now you can imagine what a pair Abyss and Roberts could have been. Unfortunately, alcohol had different ideas for Roberts. If we fast forward to 2007, the WWE started a policy of paying all expenses for its former wrestlers who wanted to start drug rehabilitation programs. Roberts was placed in a 14-week voluntary rehab program by the WWE in December 2007. In May 2008, Jim Ross did report that Roberts has been doing very well the past few weeks after completing a treatment program. Unfortunately, things went downhill again and alcohol abuse took over. If we fast forward to October 2012, while financially distressed and having resumed abusing alcohol and drugs, he moved in with fellow wrestler Diamond Dallas Page to seek help in getting his life back on track following the years of alcohol and drug addiction. His weight, believe it or not, had ballooned to over 300 pounds, and he was having trouble doing simple things such as walking without becoming short of breath. Roberts had shoulder surgery, which was paid for through crowdfunding. This showed the fans still had a lot of love for Jake the Snake Roberts. After 18 months, he had lost over 50 pounds and regained mobility. This is a period covered in the 2015 documentary, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake. Now this is a fantastic watch if you get a chance to check out the documentary. The following year in 2013, Jake the Snake Roberts improved so much and he announced his desire to return to the WWE as a participant in the 2014 Royal Rumble. Could he stay focused and achieve this? Well, in January 2014, Roberts made an appearance on the old school episode of Raw. laying a python over the face of an unconscious Dean Ambrose. Then, the Reptilian Warrior ultimately slithered into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2014. He was inducted by none other than Diamond Dallas Page. Jake the Snake Roberts had regained control of his life, and years later, he surprisingly maybe joined AEW, the new wrestling federation. It was in 2019, during the Road to All Out, that Roberts appeared as a dealer at a blackjack table, dealing cards to the women's Casino Battle Royal participants, referring to his infamous "You Wanna Play 21" promo from 1999. March the 4th, 2020, he made a surprise appearance on AEW Dynamite, interrupting none other than Cody. In his promo, Roberts claimed that he had a client incoming to the AEW to bring him down, hinting that he would be a manager for a new talent. On March the 11th of that year, Roberts revealed Lance Archer as his new client. Roberts and Archer went on to have plenty of appearances in AEW, and if we fast forward to early 2023, it was announced that Roberts, along with Mark Henry, Paul White and Sean Dean, they were named as special advisors in AEW's community outreach program titled AEW Together. One thing is for sure, whether competing in the ring or speaking on the mic, Jake the Snake Roberts will go down in WWE history as one of the most cunning and lethal superstars ever to step between the ropes. And let's be honest, any kids of the Hasbro era like myself, there wasn't much cooler than your Jake the Snake Hasbro wrestling figure or your wrestling buddy.